Alright, so welcome back YouTube. We're here with another video on Rostec Automotive. Today we are looking at a 2010 BMW, well 2009 is the production date, but it is actually a 2010 vehicle, 2010 BMW 328i X-Drive E90X chassis. Customer states that he has no ability to wind down, wind up windows. Things seem to be a bit odd inside the vehicle. The headlights are always on, the brake lights work, but nothing else seemingly works, which, as we know based on experience, is an issue with the FRM. Customer also states that the original FRM was bad and it was replaced. And this FRM that is now in the vehicle is a used FRM, but one that he bought from someone off marketplace that told him that it was working well. So the vehicle was brought to me, and some of the symptoms that, as I explained earlier, that you would see is that instead of the halo rings coming on for the daytime running lights, the bi-xenon and low beams would be running as daytime running lights. Windows would not wind down and that kind of thing. So as we can see here, after doing the readout of the vehicle information, it is obvious that the FRM is completely dead. It's not responding by any means. Now, we don't just jump to the conclusion right away that it is a bad FRM, because based on the information that we got from the customer as to how it was installed, the battery was not disconnected or anything like that. So we do know that there's always the possibility of a bad fuse or faulty wiring. Maybe it was not reconnected properly and that kind of thing. So in this video, we do some diagnostics to confirm that that is not the case. We also do some checks through ISTA here. We do some others with Tool 32 to try to see if we can connect to the FRM by any means possible, and see if we can reset the short circuit counter that is being shown. So here we read out the fault information, and it shows that there's no communication possible with the control unit, amongst other things, and we go ahead and we start to calculate the test plan. All right. Now inside here there were multiple issues, and this car was a bit tough. I'd like to call it a Frankenstein kind of vehicle. When you pop the trunk to look where the battery is, a lot of things are missing from inside there. There's no battery cage for the battery. The car seems to have been involved in a rear end collision, and a lot of the wiring that should be there in its proper spaces are missing here and there. There are a lot of seals that are missing, a lot of things that are unplugged, and so forth. So you will even see that there's an issue for the IBS, which is not connected. We rectified that issue amongst others and took care of one and a few things inside the vehicle here and there. Here it is that we would start going through the ABL for the short circuit processing for the FRM, and everything from here is pretty much straightforward. Follow the instructions on screen. We ended up also pulling out the glove box to check the junction box to make sure that everything is all right. We tested the fuses. All of those were working perfectly, no issues there. Everything is fine inside that location. All right. So this part of the video is just to show you that in ISTA, for those who don't know, for those who don't know, all the wiring diagrams are there to show you the exact location of everything that it is that you need to find. This is not a tutorial on how to use ISTA, but just to give some perspective on what's what. So at that point, we ended up going through the fuse box, making sure that everything is okay. And now we're back, started a new readout of the vehicle information after clearing all of the previous errors, running some ABLs for like the IBS sensor. We did a few initializations, we did some short circuit testing. We also had to get the car on a battery charger because to have the car being read out like this, the bi-xenon lights were still running, which does take a considerable amount of power. Here, I believe it was a case where we were looking at the vehicle order because the customer was talking about wanting a transmission flash at some point, and it was being recommended that the sports automatic transmission change in the vehicle order could also be done to assist where that is concerned. So here we go ahead, we delete the fault memory. And believe it or not, this is a bit of an oddity, but I did have an E83 X3 that had a DSC. I believe that is in one of our previous videos. A dynamic stability control module that after clearing errors, it started to read. And then upon the second read, it would no longer be responding. And if you cleared the errors, you would be able to code it and everything. So I just went out on a bit of a limb here to see if that kind of thing would by any means take place. The other errors that are there in the car, we don't need to really worry much about them. A lot of them are non-existent. And for those that would be coming back after being driven, then we would know that, they're there. Furthermore, all errors that are stored in the car, it is a case where I do go over all of them in terms of mechanically checking them out and that kind of thing. Plus, I do store the error memory that is initially read out so that it can be compared to that which comes back after doing any repairs or anything like that. So it is never a case where we just clear errors to see modules in green. And before even the fault memory is finished being read out, we see that the FRM comes back in red again. And it says no communication with control unit is possible. The other two errors right above it is definitely for those same FRM lights. Those would be for the low beams actually that are there. So we try to see if we can run another ABL to see if things are solely on the software side still in any way, shape, or form. It's a bit of a stretch for that to be the case. However, just to make sure that no stone gets left unturned by any means that can be done, we still try to, see what is what there. So in this, we're just reinitializing the CAN or the FlexRay system. In this case, the E90 chassis does not use a FlexRay system. It uses a CAN system. So we're just reinitializing that to see if there will be any connection between the data transmission line to the FRM so that it can at least come back yellow with some issues inside there. So pretty much this ABL is going to be running to calculate the module with the highest probability of faults that are inside there, and see, it comes back saying that the FRM is definitely faulty. All right. I believe even ISTA at the end of this did clearly state that it is a case where we should replace the FRM. So that is exactly what the end result came to, where it is that the customer was told that it is recommended for him to replace the FRM in the car. It's a bit of a stretch because he got the FRM from someone on Marketplace, so for him to get a refund for that, I'm not too sure. He would have to take that up with the person that he bought it from and hope that something can be done. That part is not my prerogative, but it is a case where he was recommended that a new FRM is going to have to be gotten and coded into the car. For reference sake, for those who don't know, when you do replace a module such as this in the car, then it would be a case where instead of the module showing up red, it is supposed to show up either green, and that is only if God is with you and all works well, or it is going to come up yellow with some errors inside there, especially considering that the VIN is going to have to be coded to or programmed to the module that you would have replaced so that it matches with all of the other data that comes from all the other modules that goes through the FRM. That ties in with the CAS and the DME and so forth. So we're just finishing up the rest of this ABL here. This part is for the DME actually to check out the CAN message that is going on to find out what is what. Turns out that it is the CAN message that is coming from the FRM also that is that issue. So we go ahead again. We're going to delete the fault memory, see if it makes any changes after we have done those initializations on the CAN bus, and see how well that works in our favor. On top of that, you would have seen in the ABLs where it says that there needs to be a steering angle sensor adjustment. Quick and dirty trick, especially if you see that 4x4 for those who have those X-Drive vehicles, or for those who have the rear wheel drive and you see the ABS light and the flat tire pressure sensor, flat tire monitoring light come up and so on. Just lock the wheel left to right a few times, just a quick and dirty trick, and that should reinitialize the sensor. It doesn't always have to be done with ISTA and that kind of thing. So instead of doing it through ISTA, we actually just did that in person, rocked the wheel left and right, lock to lock basically, and that reinitialized it, took care of that situation. There have been a few people who have asked me how it is that I'm doing all of this on a Mac. You can go back to the previous video where I showed how it is that we are running ISTA, ESYS, and all of the other regular BMW standard tools on a Mac. Right now this is running on my Mac's home screen instead of on Windows. This is simply just running it in coherence mode, so it acts as though it is a Mac application at that point, just making it easier for me to access the local files that is on the Mac instead of having to switch between Windows and Mac back and forth. So you see that there is the same set of codes for the FRM. We're not paying attention to the first two ones, just the last three at the bottom. And now we go to tool 32. Very powerful tool. And we're trying to see if we can get connected to the FRM by some magical means so that we can clear the short circuit errors that are stored on the FRM. If this were possible, which I can tell you from now that it is not, and for those of you who would have had experience with FRMs and know exactly what is going on here, you know that this is at this point somewhat of a futile, endeavor really. But I just wanted to make sure that I covered all bases possible. So with this, it would be a case where had we been able to clear the short circuit errors, then we would successfully then be able to restore the module if it went well. And in ISTA, the readout would show the module in yellow, where at that point it would say to us that, it needs to be encoded and that kind of thing. Then we could go ahead and we would use WinKFP at that point and program the module to the car after clearing it of errors in ISTA. So that is exactly what would have happened, but unfortunately it didn't turn out that way. So this video is more of an informational video to show you what it is that is done in the diagnostics of this, how it is that all bases are covered. It does not show the in-person situations that have taken place. But we did disconnect the module, inspect it physically, check everything that is there physically with it, plug it back in, test for power and ground and all of the necessary sensor connections at each and every wire that is connected to the module, test for power and ground at the module and that kind of thing. However, it still turns out that the module itself was just simply faulty. As such, we recommended that the customer get a replacement module and come back to us so that we can encode it and have their car back up and running. So when that comes around, then there will be an update to this video to show exactly what it is that has taken place. But that's all for now. Thanks for another, viewing here, and I'm out.